Welcome to Study Session 3, The Weaknesses of Adult Education Practice in Traditional Society. Introduction. In this study session, we will highlight the constraints and limitations of the indigenous adult education practice, as there is no perfection in anything under the earth. No matter how hard a person struggles, there will always be limitation. This statement is true of the adult education delivery systems and programs in the indigenous society. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you shall be able to discuss the weaknesses of adult education practice in African indigenous society. The weaknesses of adult education practice in traditional society. We will examine the weaknesses of adult education in traditional context. By doing this, we will describe the inequality access nature of traditional adult education system, which was as a result of veneration of age, which the system promotes as the opinion of the elders and was always respected regardless of whether the submission was intelligent or not. For example, any child who was too inquisitive or too curious was a suspect, while there was also a common practice of not looking straight into the elder's eyes. Based on this, the young adults could not contribute meaningfully to the development of the traditional societies, as they were discouraged from thinking about new ways of alleviating the suffering of the masses of people in the society, as scientific approach could not be found for causes of sickness, death, absence of rain, presence of flood, and poor harvest, which were always been attributed to the will of God. Fadipe 1970 appraised us that the age grade is highly respected, which means that no child dare forget to greet his elders. A child that refused to do this burdensome and uncivilized code of conduct was regarded as a potential suspect for bad feelings. In most African countries today, adults are taught the modern arts and skills by children, but the expertise of such children are not always accepted by the elders on the pretext of age grade. This is the more reason why one of the early educated Nigerians, Henry Carr, frequently complained that the traditional system of education prevented change that would have brought modern ideas of the children. The end result is that African societies still wallow in poverty, ignorance, and diseases. The powerful ones were initiated into the secret societies like Ogboni in Nigeria and Poro in Sierra Leone, to mention a few. These secret societies formulate code of conduct for the society. A strong warrior will take unto himself all the goodies of the war, while the children of the traditional rulers and powerful chiefs also enjoyed special privileges. A good example of this was the deviant behavior of the children of the then Basharuga of old Oyo Empire. These children used to ride on the back of the less privileged ones whenever they were on outings. The system also encouraged the veneration of those with the house full of money and children from such households to enjoy the free services of the less privileged ones. They were also advised to be happy with their master-servant relationship so that fortune could smile on them as well. The traditional system of adult education award favors on account of birth, as those born with silver spoons in their mouths were given the power to do and undo, which led to the death of many innocent souls. Although superstition promoted peace in the traditional society, it was a known agent of underdevelopment and progress, as various taboos were being observed in the traditional society. It was this that has discouraged the traditional society from interpreting social phenomena such as causes of sickness, death, and so on as societal ills that needed to become. It was even forbidden that a relation of a person killed by smallpox should mourn. These superstitions prevented them from finding scientific approach to absence of rain, presence of locusts or floods, poor harvest, and famine. All this hinder progress, modernization, and civilization. The traditional adult education practice failed to address the issue of poverty as it did not promote assimilation and spread of new experiences. It also promoted indolence as people were made to believe in destiny, while it paid little or no attention to unemployment or underemployment. Mystique 1989 submitted that in the traditional African societies, certain members of the tribe were prevented from eating proteinous foods like eggs, fruits, and chicken on the baseless pretext that their grandfathers did not eat such foods. The expected mothers were also denied the same opportunity, while the defaulters were threatened with the wrath of God. All this resulted in high rates of malnutrition and mortality, which were always attributed to the will of God. Similar traditions limited production in the field of agriculture. For instance, the planting of well-spaced seed were not encouraged on the basis pretext that it would lead to soil erosion. Crops were therefore mixed in a plot. Absence of literacy is also one of the weaknesses of the traditional adult education practice. UNESCO defined literacy as the basis to read and write simple letters. This deficiency on the part of the traditional society affected record keeping and cross-checking of evidence, which in turn underdeveloped the traditional society. The traditional system of education appeared comfortable with this emphasis on speech, oral direction, and doing by imitation. All this were to the detriment of proper documentation. The effects of this lack of literacy could not be overemphasized as the traditional societies lost most of their heritage. Study session summary. In this study session, we discuss the weakness of traditional adult education practice by focusing on the main limitations such as the veneration of elders, toleration of privileges, and inequitable distribution of resources, award of favors on account of birth, nourishing superstition, failure to address the issue of poverty, and lack of literacy among many others. Finally, we agree that it is very clear that this type of educational setting was unlikely to withstand the assault of the society as contact was established with the outside world, which practiced a different educational program. End of study session 3. Thanks for listening.